Saleeby, how you doing, Reinette?
Doing okay, Charlie. How are you?
Okay, we doing here, man. Moses is here, and Tom, Uncle Tom. How you doing?
Doing okay.
Tell us about this book, because you talked about it here a couple of years ago with me.
30 years ago was the first time.
Yeah, she knew what was happening. Tell us about it. Tell us about Al Collins and your relationship with Al.
Well, my relationship with Al was acting as an attorney going into a federal prison 30 years ago during the height of the O.J. Simpson case, talking to the mobsters who were closely tied to everything going on with O.J. In fact, Guinea Concept friend Ronnie Lorenzo was in jail at the time. And I was going down there to get another former mobster's book that was published by Simon and Schuster into a movie. So I was just going down there to see the money guy. So I saw two of them, and what came from it was talk about OJ. And from that conversation, I guess one of Ronnie's best friends was AC, and they all had a question about the murders at the time. So the guys in jail said, this girl has unbelievable information, and you know how I got my information. I get it factual, though I got it spiritually. So it would go on point and contrary to everything that was going on in the media. I got a call from AC calling, and that was really the extent of it. And me and meet him at the police station, and at the time I was like, police, because I know there were certain fleets involved in this that were not very honest and part of the whole cover-up. So I became kind of frightened a little bit. I talked to my buddy. One of them's an actor. He was in Goodfellas and a couple others. Rose Seat, Johnny Williams, and the other guy, Sonny Billard, whose book was trying to be financed. And they said he wouldn't have you meet them at the police, get over to our house. And to go on story short, eventually I did meet with a friend of his, and they had one question for me. Who killed Nicole? That's it. So I knew at that time, 30 years ago, I was right, the murder ones together. And I know that O.J. killed not one or two of the kids. And so really recently, through amazing coincidences, 30 years later, I got a phenomenal endorsement from the number one forensic scientist in the world, Henry Lee, who was the Asian guy who got O.J. off the hook with the DNA. Mm-hmm. And I've never, ever even discussed my book with him after he read it. But he sent me an amazing endorsement, and that's why I put the book out maybe a couple months ago. I really haven't publicized it at all. But my extent with AC would, you and I know about AC because we saw the Bronco case, and suddenly you were one of the first that agreed with me because you saw did a reaction to Jason Simpson when they pulled up AC and OJ pulled up at OJ's estate, and we saw AC screaming and yelling, get the F away from the car to Jason, and you and I both in something was up. So you're one of the few people, but not, it's kind of interesting, your radio station. I did Jerry Clinton's station 30 years ago because they asked me to with Kevin Slayton, and I think he was on the other station, but your station was one of the people that, your DJ or whatever, I think his name was Iggy King, so it was kind of interesting. So we're here, dynamic science endorsing not the facts, but theorists, like you hate to talk about it, but it's the sixth sense. And people have proven somewhat their sixth sense gift, but mine is meant to prove because I'm going to be right about OJ, and I knew it 30 years ago. And Henry Lee knows. He said 2-9, that's the key for the whole thing. And you know what Henry Lee told me? He's not the only one. Marcia Clark chronicled there were 2-9, but at least he reported there were 2-9s, and nobody wanted to hear 2-9. I'm a lawyer. Lawyers want to hear what they want to hear. Prosecutors want to hear what they want to hear. You want to listen to the truth. You don't want to look for what is good for my case. But I didn't know that Dr. Goldman, who they did credit to, and wouldn't let him testify at trial, Henry Lee told me that he said there were 2-9. And that's the key to the entire thing. There were two different IGs. There were two different murders at two different times. And OJ, one of his relatives is very close to one of them. So that's why he covered. And it's the gist of the book. But what's amazing is that science now endorsed my book and my series for the first one in 30 years. That's amazing. Because like gay bands did 130 years ago, people make fun of thick thin skin. But the guys in jail didn't think it was funny. They were like, how do you know this? One of them even asked me to hold on again. You don't sit out on the carpet, but that's how I met AP. The little guys that he knew, and I think he was the bodyguard and driver for Ippolito, who was the biggest drug king of all of Los Angeles at the time.
All right, my guest today, Miss Reinette Saleeby.
During the trial, Dr. Henry Lee, you said there's a two-knife theory. Why wasn't more made of this, Reinette? Than because people haven't heard of it.
I don't know, but well, I do know because nobody wanted it to come out. Do you understand? If OJ was free, everybody walked and OJ would make a fuss. He was fed up. One of his relatives. I don't want to point fingers. Off the hook, okay? So if his relative was off the hook, it's a no-lose situation. So they made sure OJ was going to be off the hook. In fact, there's a fascinating book out there that talks about how Johnny Cochran was fed on a silver platter all the evidence for a fact. He didn't even know who was giving it to him ahead of time so that he would win the trial. You know, I can be talking about this for hours, the information that I have, but you can go all the way to the level of the presidency at the time.
Why wasn't?
And you think,
Go ahead.
No,
what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing, I've worked 30 years on it. Doesn't have to do with waste in the federal government. It's fraud all across the board. All around the world, they hide the drugs in our money. They hide everything. And it's the people in higher levels of politics want to color it up because they don't want it exposed. And number one, even if they're the good guys, they don't want to look like fools for so long. So they just kind of silently just fix things. But nobody wanted it out. Nobody wanted the truth out then. OJ never wanted the truth out to be protecting somebody. But it didn't matter anybody. I'll guarantee you 100%. Not even 99.9.
The general public is not privy to all this information.
No, not information even in my book because nobody knows I went to the federal prison. Nobody knows that a call from AC came from that. While you're watching a Bronco case, they're calling me and I was kind of afraid. I didn't know who to go to at the time, so I went to the guy to know him. And they said he would never meet you as a police agent. But later on, AC explained to them he was afraid for his life. Every person, if you really look at the truth out around this case, Ron Goldman, was murdered 6 months before he was murdered. You can't not pay attention to these things. Metaluna, a waiter's car was burned within months. Another one fled. It was all about drug dealing. Everything's about drug dealing. And Ron wasn't checking in. It's a bystander. He might be a good guy. I don't know, but he was around, whether he was involved, he was around a lot of people that owned nightclubs. And where was he headed that night? I mean, who goes by and drops glasses off and goes to a nightclub at 12:01 or whatever? I mean, whatever it is, it is. But he's probably a good guy. He didn't deserve this to happen. It could have been a fight, self-defense. He was a karate expert. He was a karate expert. And one of OJ's relatives was a chef.
Now, Reinette, I got one question. Moses, I know, has a question too. Who killed Nicole? Have they ever?
Now, they've never pinpointed. All I can tell you is that I'm not going to point a finger, but Mark Furman can tell you the most about that. He knows too.
There you go.
Because I know that Mark Furman set that up. And let me tell you something. I have a signed affidavit. Not that he killed Nicole, but I have a signed affidavit, and there was a guest policeman on Geraldo's show that I didn't even know about until years later. Oh, I read about it in Furman's book. That's right. He had to explain a certain situation of being called a racist and that whole thing of how, John Cochran found those case. And it was because his wife suspended him when they made accusations about me being part of a hit squad on Geraldo's show. And the policeman said I was part of it, and he was part of it. And so Carolyn Furman, who was married to Mark Bond at the time, called up and said, what do you mean? Don't say these things about my husband. He's innocent. This is all about a play. These are rumors. And that's how Johnny Cochran got the copies of the information that gave him the cross-examination that made to humiliate his son and when he pled the fifth. Because got this information off the Geraldo show.
Go ahead, Moses.
Yes, I wanted to ask you this question. Why do you think there was such a big cover-up in this?
it comes to money laundering and what was going on in the Federal Reserve at the times, I could be on it for hours with you. But when they deregulated the mortgage industry for you and I to buy, to get mortgages, and they made it easier, and that's why we had the cut ash. They also deregulated the Federal Reserve when, I don't know how old you are, but when I went to school, only banks could lend money to higher bank, etc. institutions, and that gets individuals with more than, the regular amount of money, like a Saudi Arabian prince with somebody with $100 million or, a money launderer, wherever, they could put deposits in the Federal Reserve too, like, wow. So when we didn't know about the deregulation, that's what I was told, but I he's doing business deals in LA at that time, and I know that sort of thing existed. So all I could say is it goes to the top. People have been money laundering for years. What bank doesn't want to say, okay, it looks good, put it in my bank, whether you're the Federal Reserve, whether you're the Vatican Bank, whether you're, any bank. Everybody wants to accept money. And that's why they'll never get Trump. No, I'm telling you, he's one of Wall Street guys. He's a guy that puts his name on it and gets 4% and doesn't commingle. He's a brilliant. Really, I want to clarify one thing when we're talking about Trump, and I wasn't making a derogatory.
Well, first of all, I don't want to talk about Trump right now.
Neither do I, but I want to tell you that whether it's Trump, whether it's Musk, whether it's anybody, if you're somebody that puts your name on something, and this is how a lot of money is laundered in this world, buying a music empire, buying a clothing line, you understand? Large sums. But when you're somebody that puts your name on something, I remember Rebelson told me years ago, we get the percentage for his name being on a restaurant. That's the same thing. That's why you're not really part of anything negative when you just add your name to it and get your royalty. Right. So, but it's an avenue. It's a way people that gave millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in worship. Right. So that's the point I'm making, because I have 15 years of being watched that club before Trump even ran for president, including the last picture he ever took single before you're alive.
On my station, we're not allowed to talk false name on my station.
Okay. You know what? I wanted to clarify. Yeah. Nobody, this is it in the wrong way. Because I'm for anybody to drain the swamp, but I want to be a swamp drain. What people on Musk and Trump are doing, it's no big deal.
Okay, we're going to go to another question. Go ahead, Lauren.
I want to ask you this question about.
Ask you about Clinton. No, don't. Sure.
I could see for the most. It helps that these people that you're talking about, that they went to cover this up. We're talking about a whole lot of money, aren't we?
Well, yeah, you're talking about organized crime. Yes. But organized crime is only linked to certain elements of certain people and certain industries. And can I tell you something? What came from this, I thought it was done when OJ was done. But then I found myself involved in Michael Jackson's case and Princess Diana, what's the history, going with the Jacksons for a reunion and having dinner with Joe. And it's not the Jacksons, but who buys the empire? Who paid $1 billion or $2 billion or how many billion for anything in this world? You always have to look twice. Who goes in and puts $1 billion in Haiti and they all disappear? You just have to look closely. I'm going to tell you the key. The key is, and whoever is listening and whoever works in the federal government, all around the world, look at the dental implant industry. You will find gold. Do you know dental implants? Everybody goes to Mexico, Texas, go to Mexico. Everybody from Florida goes to Dominican Republic. They go to Costa Rica. They go to Colombia. You get your teeth done for 10 cents on the dollar. And I'm not joking. Turkey is the hub in Europe. It was the hub. I had no idea, but whenever you see a lot of dental implant business, you need to look at it closely. That's all I'm going to say.
I know Jesse Ventura, the former mayor of Minneapolis, the governor of Minnesota, said follow the money. I think that's what we're getting at here with you, Reinette.
You are so right. And there's a woman, God rest her soul, she passed away, that I used to walk with on the path, and she was friends with Jesse too. She said he was a great guy. So, you know what? Yeah, he's right. If he says follow the money, he's correct. I just hope that that's what Donald Trump's going to end up doing. I don't know that I put a book out in 2016 that I don't put out until I'm right about OJ, and then I'll put it back out. But he had a picture. Nobody wants, when Harvey Levin interviewed Hillary Clinton before that election, he went and interviewed Donald Trump, and he says right here on the table is every book I never mentioned.
Hey, Reinette, Reinette, you got to go. We're out of time.
Oh, yeah, we can't talk about Trump.
Don't talk about Trump, no. I can't
We
talk
gotta
about Trump.
we gotta
Too many coincidences there.
We can't talk about that.
we gotta get her back on and talk about the shelf some more.
Yeah, we want to talk about the show. What,
Oh,
okay,
you're
listen,
hanging back.
real
Go
quick.
back to the LA.
listen, real quick, we don't have a lot of
I
time.
love her.
Real quick, we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
Why was this trial so big? Why is it still big? Why?
Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I proved a communication with God with no one's religion by proving a sixth sense gift. It's part of avoiding Armageddon, and it's the compliments of Notre Dame of the Sith. I think into the past and tell you the truth. I don't see into future. And it's based on facts and coincidences and things I could prove, not based on a dream, a premonition. Whatever it is, God gave me the practical psychic so that I could prove things. And I could show you that it is possible. And that we all can come together as one world and one country, despite all of our differences, because, you know, it's really not worth destroying the world over. It really isn't. So,
All right, Reinette, thank you.
I hope it works.
All right.
And Henry B came to me like out of the blue, and that was just the catalyst.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. That's Reinette Saleeby.
So it's Johnny roast beef with
She can tell you. She can talk to you.
Man,
Well, she's an attorney.
you can talk.
I've been with you on the radio a few years. You've had a lot of guests, but this lady here, boy, she got to be up there number one. Yeah, I mean, she was just on a roll.
She has a fact field.
Yeah. Yeah, and it always goes back to the money. It doesn't surprise me. And money is at the root of everything on earth that goes wrong, and that's right.
And if you drive around town and listen to the show, God, who was that? Yeah, I guarantee if someone's gonna say something to you this week.
Follow up on the
Tom, who was that? All of the money is so true.
He will.
Right.
So true.
Wow. I know they guys.
I'm stubborn.
People.
She's good.
People get. I know we got to go to break, but people get a little bit. No. Okay. People get a little upset that they think that just to the body, just to ensure is a crackpot, and that he's this, that, and the other thing. He doesn't live here anymore. He lived, but he goes down, and he's always said about everything in life, whether it's the wrestling business, whether it's government, whether it's something like this. Follow the money. He said, follow the money. Where's the money going?
Right.
Where's it coming from?
Everything in life that we see happening, see, nothing surprises me now. Oh, nothing.
No.
Nothing. What do you see? The deal.
The conspiracy theories that are out there,
Some of
if
them
good. If they came true, would it shock anybody anymore?